and welcome back to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business Podcast. My name is Kara Buntin, and I've had a home-based business since 1999, so that's what we talk about here. And I've started saying that as the intro, which I guess is okay. And that's the only intro I'm going to do. So today I want to talk about business lessons that I realized or formed in my head or whatever, because I get business lessons from everywhere. But this is from the Greta Van Fleet concert. Now, I went to see Greta Van Fleet with my daughter, who is there. This is her group. So I went to see them with her last week in Pittsburgh. And you can look up on YouTube, Greta Van Fleet, Pittsburgh. I think it was May 18th, and you'll see the videos of the concert. So you'll see things that I'm talking about in this. And there is one very specific moment where you can watch and see what I'm talking about. But there are things that you can learn about life and about your business and about many things. But this concert was a masterclass in marketing. I loved it. And it was a good concert anyway. I like the group. But anyway, let's talk about what I learned about there. So the first thing, as we're getting ready to go, and this is a little gross, okay? But if you are my age, or maybe a little older, or maybe a little younger, I don't know, then you know that when you go to concerts, someone's going to throw up, right? And there's going to be barf on the floor, and you have to watch out where you step. So as we're getting ready to go, I said to my daughter, I need to decide which shoes to wear, because I don't want to step in a pile of barf and have a hard time cleaning that off. So which ones of these are going to clean off better? And she said, there is not going to be any barf there. This is not that kind of concert. People are not going to be barfing everywhere. And I said, they attract a very diverse crowd. They attract people who are my age and older because we like the kind of the classic rock vibe, and they are very, very good. They're very good with the guitars and pyro. Lots of pyro. It's excellent. And I'll mention that later. And they also attract younger people who have just discovered the group recently, or who have been fans for the last few years because they started up maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know. They also attract, I mean, I saw dads there with their teenage daughters. So it's like, hey, I want to go see this concert. My dad has to take me, that kind of thing. They toured with Metallica. So they have Metallica fans. I saw people with Metallica t-shirts. They clearly have drum solo fans, which I'll talk about later. But there was a really interesting, diverse age, lots of different ages at this concert. So it was an interesting crowd. And we actually were talking about it while we were there. It was like, there are a lot of like really diverse people here. It's like, yes, there were. And I said to my daughter, if anyone in my age range is going to be at this concert, there will be barf. There will be people throwing up, because that's what we do, right? We go to concerts, you drink too much, you throw up. I don't think that I ever did that at a concert. Not saying I didn't do it somewhere else, but anyway, I don't drink anymore. So it's not going to be me, but I want to watch out for someone else's barf. So my daughter's like, you don't need to worry about that. I'm like, okay. So we went to the concert, and I was actually surprised that it wasn't that kind of concert, right? This was not like the outdoor festival type concert atmosphere, which you know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. And I didn't see a lot of people throwing up, but there were people drinking. They had concessions. They were selling beer and stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe there won't be any throwing up. That's okay. So the concert was over. We were leaving. My daughter says, hey, take my picture. She wanted to pose for a picture because she'd made her outfit. So I was like, okay, so I'm taking her picture. And this woman walked toward us and almost bumped into her because she was backing up. And we're like, oh, excuse me, sorry. And she said, oh, watch out. And she points down to the ground, and there's a pile of barf there, which my daughter had almost stepped in. And I lost my mind. And this poor woman was probably thinking, why is she so happy to see a pile of barf? And I was going, I knew it. I knew it. I told you there'd be barf. I told you. And I said to the woman, thank you. Thank you very much. And she was like, oh, okay. And she just kept walking as fast as she could to get away from us. But my daughter was like, oh my God. And I said, I told you there'd be a pile of barf. This is a concert. You have to have a pile of barf at a concert. So anyway, there was a pile of barf there. What I took from that in general, and also in business, is that you should learn from other people's experience. And if someone says, I have experience in this area, and this is what's going to happen if you do this, and so you need to prepare in this way. It would not have been good if she stepped in that because she was wearing these strappy sandals, right? No, you don't wear that to a concert. I was wearing like shoes that could easily be wiped off. I didn't step in it, which is good. But learn from other people's experience. Take the experience of people who have done what you haven't done and learn from them so that you don't have to make the same stupid mistakes. And don't wear strappy sandals to a concert. That's the first thing. Okay. The next thing, and this is part of the marketing thing, this concert was fantastic with their marketing. That you have to give the people what they want. Okay. And I'd mentioned the pyro. I love pyro at a rock concert, but not a lot of indoor venues do that anymore because of fire restrictions. I understand that. But they had a drum solo because it's a rock band. And naturally you have to have a drum solo that goes on for 8 minutes, right? So I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a drum solo. He's pretty good. He's a good drummer, but I'm not into the huge long drum solos. And I know that the reason that they're doing it is because the other guys have to be backstage changing costumes or moving things around or whatever they're going to be doing. And it's just stalling for time. But there were people there who were really, really into the drum solo. And there was a guy kind of a couple rows behind us. The drum solo started. He lost his mind. And he was literally like, work that. And then he said some words I can't say on YouTube. He was into it. He was screeching and screaming and clapping and stomping his feet. He wanted that drum solo bad. Okay. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, you whatever you're into, dude, enjoy. But people in the crowd were losing their minds over the drum solo. And it got to the point, and I was kind of laughing to myself at this. I didn't want to laugh because it's people are enjoying it. But he was tapping the drum with one drumstick. And people were like, wow. I'm like, oh my God, dudes, calm down. Calm down. But anyway, so he's tapping, tapping, tapping. They're all screaming. And then they showed on the big Jumbotron screen on the other side of the stage, they had these big screens. They showed a side view, and he had these chimes, like a long string of chimes that were lined up next to the drums. And I'm like, he's going to hit those chimes and they're going to lose their minds. And sure enough, he reached over with his drumstick and just went, just like rubbed him along the chimes very slowly. The crowd went crazy. And I turned to my daughter, who started laughing. She was laughing. She's like, oh my God, they're insane. And I said, yes. And we were dying, but they loved it. And you have to give the people what they want. And I know that these guys knew that that moment with hitting those chimes, that was going to send the crowd into a frenzy. Why? I don't know. But I'm sure that he did it. I'm sure that he's done it a million times before. And I'm sure that he knew the reaction he was going to get. So just keep in mind that if you know your customers like something, give it to them. All right. If you and this there comes a point where you're just like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore because you can't take it anymore. But they're apparently not at that point with the chimes. And as long as you can stand it, give the people what they want. I'll just put it that way. Because there are times where you want to just stop selling something because you can't use your life to make that anymore. And that's when you have to give it up. But as long as you can manage it, give the people what they want because they will keep coming back for it and they will demand more. Okay. The next thing is that you need to notice everyone. You need to pay attention to all of the people that follow you or all your fans or whatever. I try to answer all the questions on my YouTube channel. It gets hard, so I've started doing like maybe an hour after something is posted. I will definitely go in and answer the questions. I don't answer comments on the podcast. I've kind of set that limit for myself. But you really do need to pay attention to the people who are taking the time to comment on your stuff. Pay attention to the people who are buying from you. Send people a little write thanks on the receipt, if nothing else. And the way that these guys did that is that at one point, probably during the drum solo, they had the roadies set up a stage at the opposite end of the stadium. And we were sitting, it was like a hockey arena, and we were kind of sitting on one end of what would be the hockey rink, and they were on the other end. The stage was down there. So what they did is they set up a smaller stage at our end of the hockey rink, and they came down, the band came down, they walked through the crowd, they shook hands, they were like talking to people, they were very engaging with the crowd all night. And I've seen concerts where people just come out and they play and they leave. And these guys were not like that. They actually were showing appreciation to the crowd. And by moving down to that smaller stage, they let the people who are at the other end of the arena get a little closer to them. And my daughter was so excited. She's like, I can't believe how close they are. I love that they came down to this end because you could see them better. They were playing, they played 3 or 4 songs, and it made a big difference to the evening for the people who were down at that end of the stadium. So don't neglect your customers. If you have people who are taking the time to comment on your reviews, don't ignore that. To send you emails, don't ignore them. If you have people buying things from you, like I said, put a thank you note. Just write thanks on the receipt if at a minimum. But pay attention to your customers, answer questions, answer comments, and that will go a long way. People appreciate it, and then they will like you more. That's just how that works. All right. The next thing I learned, which I knew this, but when I'm saying learning, it's just things that I'm thinking about while I'm at this concert because I love the marketing part of it. Um, your taste isn't always your customers. And I've heard this recently. It's like, I put the ugliest thing up and everybody's buying it. I don't understand why it's my bestseller. I don't know why people love this so much. I can't stand it. Your taste is not your customers, and you have to pay attention to what people are buying and liking because that's what they want. Okay. And what made me think of this is that these guys had two opening bands. One of them I had never heard of, and that was the one that was on the bill. The other one was like, it must be another project that one of the guys in the band is doing. Okay, so he had his band come out. So it's like a mini Greta Van Fleet. It's not them, but it's one of the brothers who's the guitarist has a second band. They played one of the opening acts, which I thought was brilliant because my daughter said that they don't have any records out yet, but they had a giant QR code up on the screens. So smart, so smart. The QR code is up there. You could scan it. I'm not sure if you could buy things in advance or if you just were taken to their website or whatever it was. I didn't scan it, but it was super super good publicity for them, and that was fine, and that was a good band. That they were okay. The second band that came out was the actual opening band. I thought they sucked, but it was not my taste. It was not my thing. And my daughter really liked them. Okay, so she said, I think they're really good. I'm going to go buy some of their stuff. I'm going to check them out. And I said, okay. And so just understand that your taste isn't necessarily what your customers like, and you are not your customer. And I know that people say that all the time, but really pay attention to what people are actually looking at and buying and make more of that. And if you try something and people really like it, make more of it. Don't just say, well, I don't like it, so I wouldn't wear that, so I'm not going to make it. Try it out. Try some things out. Throw some things up there and see if it works. It doesn't cost too much for us to do that. So go ahead and try it out. But just remember that your taste isn't always your customer's taste. So you can kind of put things out there and see if it works. It's very low risk to do that. So try it out. And the last thing is that pyro is awesome. Okay. And they had a lot of pyro. And like I said, we were down at the other end of the arena. And first they had these giant flames like shoot out of the stage, and you could feel the heat. It went shooting up, and we felt the heat like half a second later. So it was like this wave of heat. And I'm like, how hot is it on that stage? Good Lord. Because we could feel it. And then the pyro continued throughout the whole concert. And at one point I took a video and sent it to my husband and said they have pyro because it's fire is awesome, right? On the stage, not in my house. But yeah, and there was a lot of it. And basically what I took from that as far as a marketing perspective goes is that the classics work. People like pyro at a rock concert. And because I'm not sure there's so many regulations now about fire safety, which is understandable. And this was an indoor venue. Like I said, this was like a hockey rink. It was a sports rink, a professional sports venue in Pittsburgh. And I'm not sure what the laws are with that. And I was sure they had about 10 fighters backstage, with I'm not sure with what. But at one point, smoke was starting to come out of this stuff, and I'm like, that's kind of a lot of smoke coming out, and I'm not sure what their sprinkler system is like. So I was getting ready to get rained on. It was fine, but yeah, I don't think that a lot of concerts these days have that much pyro. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. This is not a band that has backup singers, like one person dancing and then the backup singers. I'm not into that. Okay, that's whatever. Enjoy it if you like it, not my taste. But the kind of band that this is, they needed some pyrotechnics, and they had them. The classics work. Okay, so don't always be chasing trends. Don't be saying, well, nobody else has pyro, so we're just going to not have that. They know this goes back to give the people what they want, and we want pyrotechnics at a rock concert. Okay, and that's what we got, and it was awesome. But have some classics in your shop. Don't always be chasing trends. Don't change your collections all the time. You need to have kind of a standard collection that stays in your shop all the time, that people can come back to and buy again. I have people come back year after year buying the same thing because they liked it the first time and they want to get it again. And if I take something out of my shop, they send me messages. Do you still have this? I went to buy it and you don't have it anymore. So people will come back and buy things again. So have a classic collection. Just have a line that stays there and doesn't go away. That's your base collection. It stays in your shop. It gives people a chance to come back and buy more than one time, and the classics work. All right. So I think that those are my lessons. Just don't step in a pile of barf. And definitely don't wear strappy sandals to a rock concert. Are you insane? Okay. But luckily, nothing was stepped in this time. It can happen. I've seen it happen many times. So anyway, give this video a thumbs up. Leave me any questions. Tell me your rock concert experiences. What do you learn? What did you learn from going to your last concert? I know that you've gone to a concert recently. What did you learn from it? Tell me a lesson. Oh, I have a bonus. I have a bonus lesson. We went to a Chris Isaak concert. This must have been 10 years ago. Probably about 10 to 12 years ago. It was literally 103 degrees that day. I'm not lying. It was summer, obviously. I had just delivered a wedding cake to an indoor venue, thank God. And we went to this concert. Chris Isaak comes out with the band, and they played. It was hot. It was miserable. They played the whole set, fully energetic. And then at the end, he came out wearing the mirror suit. If you haven't seen the mirror suit, look it up. It's a suit, it's covered with little mirrors. That is got to be one heck of a heavy, hot suit. Okay. That, and he said something about when a guy wears a mirror suit in 103-degree heat, you know he means business. Yes. Okay, do your job. That's the lesson from that. Do your job no matter what the conditions are. Do your best, do your job, give the people what they want. That's a classic for him. The classics work. Don't skimp on the gravy. Okay. I think that's from Beavis and Butthead. I don't know. Okay. Give this video a thumbs up and I'll talk to you later.